your life when you need to rethink your shopping list when it comes to buying a new car. Power and performance come off the list to be replaced by practicality. Sleek and sporty go out the window in favour of safety. You shed a tear for sexy coupes, two-seater soft tops and hot hatches as you realise that a busy life and a family means it's time to buy an estate. For most of us, becoming an estate car driver is life's little way of telling us that we've finally grown up, that we have responsibilities and we no longer have time to have fun behind the wheel of our car. But hang on just a minute before you get too depressed, because Volvo have just thrown us a lifeline in the shape of this, the V70R with all-wheel drive. They've done the unthinkable. They've produced an estate car that can outperform a sports car and looks the business as well. Yes, the Volvo V70R is a wolf in sheep's clothing that will leave the boy racers for dust at the lights, even when it's loaded up with a family and a boot full of shopping. We're talking 2.3 litres of 5-cylinder turbocharged power, 240 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in around 7 seconds, and get this, a top speed limited to 152 miles per hour. Figures like that mean sporty performance, all right, but it does also look the part. It may seem like it's made totally out of right angles, but that deep front spoiler, the alloy wheels and a wing at the top of the tailgate all give out the right message. And tucked away neatly and discreetly on the back are 3 little letters that tell you this car is capable of serious performance. The A, W and D stand for all-wheel drive, and the minute you get on the road you realise it's worth its weight in gold. There's an incredible amount of power lurking underneath that bonnet, far too much for a 2-wheel drive system to be able to handle properly. But the all-wheel drive system copes with it beautifully. In normal conditions, the engine's power goes straight through the front wheels as you'd expect. But when you get a miserable day like this and the roads get slippery, when you're accelerating or cornering, the 4-wheel drive system automatically kicks in. You floor the throttle in this and you don't get wheel spin. It just rockets away with amazing grip and traction. And when you combine that with the lowered sports chassis, the incredibly taut body control and the firm suspension, cornering in this is an absolute joy. And it's not just country roads that the Volvo likes, it's just as much at home on motorways, where the superb overtaking power simply eats up the miles for fun. The clever people at Volvo have thought of everything. There's a load compensating system, which means that even when it's fully loaded with 5 adults and all the paraphernalia they carry, the performance is still just as impressive. Being behind the wheel of the Volvo is a far more impressive experience than you would first imagine. It's just great fun to drive, the steering is smooth and it's very responsive. The only gripe I have is with the turning circle, which is rather poor and can become a bit of a pain. Parking it is also difficult until you get used to its size. Inside the vehicle, the cabin is extremely stylish, with lots of aluminium trim everywhere, and everything is extremely well laid out. The V70 really does pamper its driver and the passengers. The leather and suede seats are very comfortable and supportive, and there's a huge list of goodies to keep you amused. Twin climate controls, heated electric seats, cruise control, and an 8-speaker triple CD system are just a few from the very impressive equipment list. One gadget not included in the list is this. An extra £2,500 will get you the ultimate in-car accessory, your very own traffic information system. It's a little bit like having your own onboard taxi driver. It's extremely difficult to get the hang of, but once you do, it can direct you anywhere by the shortest route, and it lets you know of any traffic problems you're likely to encounter on the way. It really does take an awful lot of the stress out of driving, and you know, it could mean an end to all those family rows about who read the map the wrong way and got you all lost. Being a Volvo, it is of course packed with safety features. Everything from airbags and side impact bars to 3-point passenger seat belts. And check out the special integrated child seat. The kids will be fighting over who gets to sit in that one. And of course, let's not forget the reason you were in the market for an estate. You might have discovered performance to die for in this one, but top of the shopping list originally was space. And space this has. 5 adults can fit in comfortably. The load area is enormous and the rear seats fold down easily, thanks to a tilting mechanism that moves the headrests out of the way, locks in the seats and leaves you with even more space. So there you have it. You've got space, practicality and safety, with great handling and fantastic performance, all in one neat little package. So what's the snag? The price, £37,000. It's a great deal of money that could buy you many amazing cars. But very few of them would be able to offer quite what the Volvo can. In Volvo speak, the V from V70 stands for versatile, and this truly is a versatile vehicle. It manages to keep everyone happy, and it's the perfect choice for the real driving enthusiast who now has the family to think about as well.
At last I get to do a proper job. No more greasy hands and dirty oil. Today I'm going to get to test the car. The editors told me to come down here to Westfield Sports Cars. I've got a red car to test. This looks like it's the one. And if this is the one, I'm really going to enjoy it. Come on, let's go and get the keys. Hello, it's John Wright from Four Wheels Good.
Good morning.
I've come to collect that car that you're going to loan us.
This way, please. There's your car.
That's the car.
Right, you've got to build it.
You're not serious, are you?
I'm serious, you've got to build it.
I'm going to build that? Yeah, great. Now I've actually got over the shock of having to build the car. I'm with Chris Smith, the Managing Director of Westfield Sports Cars. Chris, can you tell me a little bit about the background and history of the company?
We started in 1982. I built the first car in my garage at home. I'd been a racing driver for many years and with a history of building cars. So I built the first one. A friend of mine said, I'd like another one of these. Someone else said, I'll buy one of those. And it went from there, really. And during the 80s, we invested in the product to make it better, eventually finishing in the early 90s with European type approval, which meant that we'd got a vehicle that could be sold in a lot of countries around the world. And we've developed in many areas since then. We've got our own race series, we sell cars to America, to Japan, and predominantly the UK.
You said the UK. How does such a traditional sports car really fit into a modern car market?
Well, England has always been a place that produces peculiarities. So we're one of the last few small, low-volume manufacturers left now. There's been a demise over the years of the names like Wolseley and Royle, taken over by BL, and eventually they all disappear into BMW. So we've got ourselves left, we've got Morgan, Reliant are just about to come out again, and we're just one of those very, very few small, quirky car manufacturers.
Right, Chris, so this is how it all begins then?
That's right, this is the start of the process of making a car. We have prime quality steel that comes to us with a certificate of conformity from the manufacturer. We then cut that steel on a saw. It's placed on our storage, on our jigs there, ready to be picked to make a chassis.
I take it it's all British steel then?
Predominantly British steel, yeah.
You said making a chassis, shall we go and have a look how they make the chassis?
Yes, that's on the jig over here. This is one of the main frame chassis jigs. Material is placed on the trolley here, picked from the trolley, given to the fabricator, an order, set of drawings and a manual, and we'll then proceed and make a chassis in that tube.
So one operator will do it, start from scratch.
That's right. He's
How
responsible for his chassis.
He's responsible for that chassis?
Yeah.
How long does it take to make all this?
From the raw material to the finished frame, about 10 hours.
That's a heck of a lot of welding, is that?
And the welding must be done in a precise manner. It can't just be start here and finish there. It's got to be this sequence and that sequence, otherwise you get twist in the frame.
Well, Chris, they're looking a lot better colour now, all in one.
Yes, these chassis have now been epoxy powder coated and they're waiting to be aluminium panelled.
I mean, it looks a nice colour. Is it scratch resistance and all the rest of it?
Yeah, it's the best finish we have for weather resistance.
Right, Chris, what's going on here?
Once the chassis has been epoxy coated, it comes into this section here to have the aluminium panels fitted with pop rivets to seal the whole centre into the top.
Right. I mean, do you do every one like this? Does every car that
Most of them now, yes. Occasionally we get customers who want to paint the frame themselves and put the panels on. But it's far easier if we undertake that job for them.
You want to paint themselves when you get this sort of finish from the coating?
They have a budget, they work to a budget.
Right, we've done this bit. What goes on next?
Next, this way.
Right, follow you.
That's it. When the chassis has been panelled, it put onto a trolley, comes through into this area here and gets onto the production line where we start to assemble the car.
Right, this is a car in build.
That's right. It's come from the aluminium section in there. The brake pipes are fitted in place with clips. The wiring loom's fitted into place. Then the mechanical component starts. Radiator, wishbones, shock absorbers, steering rack.
These wishbones here, they look sort of slightly odd.
Yeah, they're intended to be asymmetrical to put the offset towards the rear of the car, which gives a little bit of caster on the front suspension.
Right, so the turn-in's better and all that
Yes,
sort of thing.
that's right.
Anything else technical that I really ought to be aware of before we embark on this project?
Really, no, it's really what we would term as a Meccano set. So it is like a big boy's toy.
I'm looking forward to this. I really am looking forward to it.
As a young boy, cars and trucks were always a great fascination for me. I used to say when I grew up I wanted to be a bus driver, a lorry driver, drive a racing car, some glamorous and some not so glamorous occupations. But there was always one thing that I wanted to do, drive a dustbin lorry, or should we say a refuse vehicle. Well, today I get to realise my ambition. But this is no ordinary dustbin lorry, it's a revolutionary new vehicle from Seddon Atkinson, and it's this, the Leader. Now, what do the Leader and the McLaren F1 road car have in common? Surely nothing, you might think. Well, there's one important design that both of these vehicles share, and it's this, the central steering column and the seats behind. The McLaren F1 road car might do 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. The Leader might take a little longer, I think. But the Leader certainly beats the McLaren hands down when it comes to street cleaning performance. So the automatic gearbox you just simply put into drive. We're in, give it some revs. Take the air brake off. Oh, I see. It's easy when you know how. And off we go. If my little boy could see me driving this now, you would be so jealous. Now Mark, Seddon Atkinson have developed this new Leader Tell us why it's revolutionary. It's been described as revolutionary, and why you've developed it.
Well, as you probably know, Ian, Seddon Atkinson are a very major player in the UK municipal vehicle market, and with its centre steering position and low access cab, the Leader is particularly suitable for any environment where repeated stops and starts are necessary, and where both the driver and the crew may have to repetitively get out of and back into the cab. As you can see, the low steering position and low access points make the Leader uniquely suitable.
What sort of features are standard on the Leader for the driver and the crew?
Well, in addition to an easy, clean cab which is tailored to the municipal environment, Ian, the cab includes one or two of life's creature comforts. It's well upholstered, as you can see, and in addition to that, we've included closed-circuit television to assist driver reversing, and a radio cassette configuration to keep them entertained.
Mark, let's take a look around the Leader and see what some of the main features are, can we?
Certainly, come on. Okay, and so as you can see, we have this rather large cooling package attached to the side of the vehicle here. Due to the low driving position and the low floor in the cab, it's obviously impossible to mount the radiator in its normal position at the front of the vehicle frame. So we've had this package specially developed, which includes both the radiator at the back and the intercooler here. Unlike a normal commercial vehicle which drives the fan either by belts or directly off the engine, this one's actually driven by an hydraulic motor. That in turn is powered by a pump on the vehicle's gearbox.
Now, for the mechanics in maintenance, when the Leader comes back in for its regular service, oil and water is easy for them to get to there?
That's right, and so is the cab tilt pump here.
So just show us what you're actually doing here, Mark, and explain as we go through.
Well, basically we have a small hydraulic pump which powers two rams under the cab, and that enables the cab to be tilted without the use of any crane or external device, so that you can get to the engine and gearbox for maintenance purposes.
So it's simply a matter of just pumping it and pumping it and pumping it, and eventually the cab will start to tilt out.
That's right, yes.
And there she goes, beginning to tilt now.
There you go.
And that, of course, gives easy access to the engine, and you can be working on the engine as well. How far does the cab actually go over?
Well, actually, I think it tilts to 50 degrees in total.
Now, Mark, what's so different about the chassis on the Leader?
Well, as you can see, whereas a normal commercial vehicle chassis passes almost to the front of the vehicle, the Leader's low cab and low driving position necessitates that we end the frame just behind the front wheels here, and that the cab and part of the front suspension are carried on these two subframes. Also, the engine is mounted slightly further back along the chassis and a little bit lower than normal. It's
a huge engine, 8.3 litres?
That's right, but you have to remember that although municipal vehicles spend a lot of time wandering village and town streets, they're given quite a job to do on certain landfill sites where the gradients can become quite high.
We've come inside the cab of the new Leader now to see what's so different about it, and perhaps, Jonathan, you can just run through the main points that make it so different, so revolutionary from a normal refuse vehicle.
Well, basically, with you sitting in the middle, the vision either side of the doors is good, and the mirrors, the visibility for the mirrors is much easier than a normal right-hand drive vehicle.
And what sort of comforts does the driver get and the passengers get?
Well, they get air-assisted seats in these ones, so you can like air out or put the air back in. You can put the seat as high as you want it, as low as you want it. Adjustable steering column. All the controls are nice and handy. Gearbox there, handbrake there, nice and easy to get to.
And how does it actually drive out on the road? Is it different at all to drive from a normal vehicle?
Oh yeah, it's different to drive. You have to tend to drive it more like a left-hand drive vehicle. Like you drive to the curb rather than to the white lines when you first get in it. If you haven't driven it before, you tend to wander over to the right, as it's normal to do so.
Well, perhaps you can take us out for a drive and let's see how it actually goes on the road.
Yes, no problem.
Everybody knows about the great Golf TDi. It's a superb car with plenty of punch. Well, there's a new competitor on the market that you may not know about. It's this. It's the Seat Ibiza. It wasn't exactly the TARDIS, but it did surprise me how much I managed to fit in the boot. One area that I really enjoyed was the brute power that lies beneath the deceptively understated lines of this vehicle. It's not quite a wolf in sheep's clothing, but it does have the bite. Overtaking is no problem. When the turbo kicks in, you sail effortlessly past the longest of lorries in seconds. When it comes to cornering, I want the best. I took the Ibiza around some pretty contorted hill roads in northwest Spain, and it didn't let me down. The brakes were precise and efficient. They did their job. In summary, I liked this car. It did what I wanted, when I wanted it. However, with an engine like that, I would hope that it would look a bit more like it drives. Well, I said at the beginning that I thought this was a great competitor for the VW, and now that I've put it through its paces, I'm absolutely certain. Of course, it's got a problem, and that's VW's reputation. But I'm telling you, this car is going to have a hell of a reputation in the future too.